Either you're very good at guessing, or the slightest bit clever. Let's find out for certain. Listen closely, and make your attempt. Source is a scourge, a devil, a misery, a blight, a hex, a curse. And yet, the cure is... Perhaps you're not totally incapable after all. Or maybe Trompdoy told you the answers, is that it? Is he hoping you'll... It doesn't matter in any case. The path is open. Go freely. I know little, but you have proven yourself a knowing traveler. I will answer what I can. Brachus Rex has charged him, tried him, convicted and punished him. I know not the crime, but he has been sentenced to remain in this vault for all time, and to prevent others from entering. Trompdoy was, and is, a creative man. He knew petty magic in his day, but this he has used to carve this place out from a simple vault, myself included. Brachus Rex discovered the way. This he researched here, upon this isle. He could remove the source from any creature or individual. I saw the stars he used myself. They were most impressive.
Horrible surrounding for an agreeable conversation, but...
As you pick up the ring, you feel a cold, dark pain shoot up your arm. Your mind itches. You don't hear, but feel a whisper in your ear. It tells you to slip the ring onto your finger.
That's plenty.
hums with inner source.
You made it all this way.
He trembles and seems to shudder with a quiet sob.
I'm cursed, you know. Bloody Bracchus bound me here to protect his vault. He has my soul in that jar just there, and I can't leave without it. As long as the jar stays unbroken, I can never truly die. I don't rightly know. This was the Source King's way. Befriend you, then destroy you. I was a fool to expect I'd be an exception. His favor was intoxicating. That's no excuse, but it is the reason. Really? You would?
He drops to his knees before you and grabs onto your feet with both hands, head hanging.
Thank you.
A soul jar rests between two fallen columns, emanating a faint odor of seaweed and timber. When you touch the glass, your vision wavers. You emerge on the prow of a fine ship. Your armor pulses with enchantment, dominating those who draw near. Your flag flies for Brachus Rex, a tyrant who traded for your soul. With his power, your flesh and blood is no longer relevant. The vision fades as the soul thrashes, trying to sever your connection. To be soulless is a horrible, empty fate. You seek out Brachus's vault, but the moment you reach the soul jar, he ensnares you. Thus imprisoned, you can only dream about what is out of reach. Your soul and that alluring armor. The vision shatters as the soul squirms away from you, curling up in the bottom of the jar. The soul jar pulses with trapped life force.
Good fight.
The jar on the plinth before you seems ancient, but is in surprisingly good condition. It's covered in pictograms that you can't understand, but you're sure you just saw one of them move. The pictograms spin to life, and you're dragged into a dream. You see the lizards of the ancient empire turning their backs on you, casting you out into the wilderness. As you roam, the human apes turn away from you, all but one. One smiles, one opens his arms, one says he'll take you home. Brachus Rex. He promises power for a price. He picks off your golden scales, one by one, stripping you down to the bone. He promised you a crown, but all you got was shackles. You try to fight, try to reclaim what's yours, but a woman takes you by the hand and leads you to a tower. He promised he'd take me home, you cry. You are home, she smiles as she seals the door. This is where you belong. Your hand drops away from the soul jar, your skin prickling. In the back of your mind, you hear a small, scared voice whimper before fading to nothing.
Good fight.
The long-dead lizard's visions fade.
I can't help but sympathize with him. He just wanted to go home.
No amount of loneliness excuses wickedness. He helped a monster for selfish reasons.
What he did shames his people.
Lucky find.
This jar glitters and glows. From within, you think you can make out the distant sound of laughter. With a jerk, your mind is pulled to a scene in a tavern. You see a dwarf in the center of the room, joking us all around roar with laughter. All bar the zombies, who are slavishly serving food and drink. The door opens, and a tall, beautiful woman stalks into the room. She's flanked by heavily armed guards. You can't make out her words, but see the fear in the dwarf's eyes. The dwarf mutters a word, and the undead lurch towards the intruder, but are cut down like wheat. The dwarf tries to run, pushing her friends into the woman's path, but is grabbed before she can escape. As she's dragged away to a tower, you hear her cursing Brachus Rex and his whore. Even when she's thrown inside and the door sealed, you can still hear her shouts. You pull your hand away from the jar, your head swimming. You can feel the dwarf's cold terror still twisting in your gut.
Good find.
The vision fades.
She must have been acting against Brachus Rex for him to have come for her like that.
Keeping the dead as slaves. What a disgusting display. She deserved every punishment she got.
Being locked in a tower was more kindness than any necromancer deserves.
The jar before you may have looked opulent once, but no longer. Now it's covered in grime, its paint chipped away, and its jewels long stolen. The soul jar rocks slightly, light flashing from underneath its lid. On its rim, you can just barely make out the name Gratiana. As soon as you touch the jar's cracked surface, you see a vision of splendor, silks, fine food, and decadent lechery. But underneath it all lies bone and blood. The vision shifts. You see burning villages, slaughtered women and children. You see her, purging wand in hand, standing amongst it all. She throws her head back and laughter echoes in your skull. A shadow falls across her, and you see a large, weeping face. She reaches out as if to comfort, but Brachus drags her back. You see her fall into the mire of the swamp, trapped. As you pull your hand away, you can feel a deep, longing sadness in your soul. Is it regret, or just sadness for a life that used to be?
Nice.
The terrible vision fades.
Gratiana's life was selfish and hedonistic. No mercy.
Whatever a person may have done in life, they can always be redeemed.
However her life began, it ended well. No one should be damned because of their youth.
The soul jar stands on its plinth, glowing softly. From within, you can almost hear the whisper of a voice. You see, or rather, you feel, a far-off land. Frozen breath hangs in the air, pine needles brush your cheeks, and in your arms you can feel a weight. A body, dead. But you have hope. Your vision swims. You're older, but perhaps not wiser. You march at the head of a shambling host, the enemies of Brachus Rex melting before you. The scene twists again. Now Brachus stands before you, a beautiful woman at his side. You lash out in treasonous rage, but cold arms bind you. You're sealed away in a tower. Your screams fill the darkness. You feel a jolt and open your eyes to see the soul jar before you, lying still in the vault. Your hand falls from the jar and grips the pillar as you try to calm your ragged breathing.
Lucky find.
The necromancer's memories fade to black, but the feelings remain.
They may have been a necromancer, but they did not feel evil. Misguided, perhaps.
Anyone who marches at the head of an undead host deserves whatever punishment they get.
One must wonder how many more lives they took, how much more misery the scum caused.
The deity's head and hands are missing, severed as if by a sword. You can't tell if this was meant to be symbolic somehow, or a mere act of vandalism. As you take in its chiseled details, you have a vision. The statue comes to life and embraces you awkwardly with its broken arms. Unable to resist, you're flown away into an endless dark.
That shrine seems to have brought me here. What is this place?
Quackus, where are we?
No leaves, no trees, no soil. This is horrific! Aye, the giant takes notice of its charges.
A dwarf you've never met stands within this otherworldly plane, and a voice you've never heard echoes in your mind. Marcus Miles, it intones, and you grasp your own head in familiar terror. You are lost in memory, treading upon the Isles of Mist's wispy sands once more. You sense something amid the fog, and it is behind you. But you whip your head backwards to see only grey. And now it is above you, but your eyes find only nothingness, the closest to void you have ever come.
Marcus!
You shake yourself from your sudden nightmare to find the unfamiliar dwarf still standing there. His face betrays both empathy and impatience with your mental flight to the recent past.
You deserved better from your queen. So did the kingdom.
Ho ho!
Such generosity of spirit, such courage and conviction. It seems I have chosen well.
He motions to the scene below, where several figures engage in seemingly endless battle.
You've come to the Hall of Echoes. You've come to the realm of the gods. The same you see at war below.
In that moment, the spirit's identity is as clear as the North Star on a winter night. This is Duna, the god of all dwarves. He nods in return.
It is no secret that ours are a fallen people. The blame rests squarely on my shoulders. I have made mistakes. Logic holds that if the head is troubled, the body will suffer. But I have a solution. You. You are my Godwoken, my replacement. You've been set on the path to divinity. You've awoken to this destiny, if you will. And you must see it done if the Dwarven Kingdom is to survive and thrive. You will be my champion. And given all you have already endured and sacrificed, I can think of none finer. You will be the one to protect our people. Let me show you.
A tremendous power enters your body all at once, as though you dropped yourself suddenly into a pool of water. You are soaked through with energy, with light.
You may have noticed I have tried to help you on your journey. I blessed the water beneath your feet so that it would aid you. Now you have that power for yourself. And this is only the beginning. More and greater powers await you, if only you will seek them. This is why I have chosen you. This is why I would not see the beast crushed by a kraken and swallowed by a tainted sea. Only you and others like you can wield this great power. Now the choice is yours. Will you use your new potential to raise Dwarvenkind to its deserved heights? Or will you squander it for your own selfish needs? Within each individual lies the power of an empire, of a god. Some choose to ignore it, but others choose to seize it, to hone it, to bend it into the tool through which they will claim greatness. This I see within you, above all my many children. I hope I am not wrong. In time, I will ask more of you. But now your goal is simple. Leave this realm, and abandon any who would put their petty needs above your mightier goals. You are battling for the greatest of goods beyond even Dwarven freedom. Dwarven dominance. When facing peril, your survival matters above all else, even if it comes at your crew's expense. Should you die, the kingdom dies with you.
Duna smiles slightly.
There is still much to say. Too much. For now, listen closely to what I say. You know full well I am not the only god. You have seen the great war being waged among us. Do not believe for a moment they are not seeking their own champions. Perhaps even from among your companions. Competition is inevitable, Marcus. Failure is not. We are strong. We must rise. You must lead us. You will either be my champion or a sacrificial lamb burned at another lord's altar.
His eyes blaze with fury.
Choose me, or you cast us, the kingdom, and all that is, into the eternal void.
Blessed branches, we've returned. Every second we spent in that hellish place was a second the great acorn drew closer. Interesting. You thought it was interesting, Quercus. Do you know what's interesting? Watching an entire world be strangled by the root. I don't know what you're talking about. I am perfectly, calm. Anyway, as interesting as that cold hellscape might have been, it does not solve our problem. We are here to stop.
It's already helped.
The fate of the world depends. We need to travel across the land, gathering clues, experimenting with different magics. Of course, for us to do that, we must avoid being eaten by the servants of the Great Acorn. No, I am very well.
The squirrel reached
There, maybe.
Sibyl is pensively tracing a new name on her arm. Gilded letters in an ancient alphabet.
Sibyl. My own name. A little gift from Tyrsendilius. Leave it to a god to be overly dramatic. Must be a celestial party game. Or maybe he wanted to teach me a lesson. If the latter, he has much to learn.
The air out here is a damn sight better than in Fort Joy, eh?
Ifan looks at you askance, then doubles up, laughing. He wipes tears from his eyes and stutters to speak, but he can't stop laughing enough to do so.
Oh, she was a fine one. You see there, she writes like a cottage innocent, but the truth is, it was she who stole everything from the Chems. And she wrote that whole book to cover her tracks, so nobody would look for the missing gold anywhere near her. She never even met Roost, though she paints quite an accurate picture of his, bedroom antics.
And with that, he's laughing uncontrollably again, waving you away with both hands.
Me too. A god I don't believe in told me things about myself I don't believe. Yeah.
Ifan chuckles and raps his knuckles against the side of your skull, hard enough to knock your head sideways.
Maybe so. Whatever we believe, we still need to live in the here and now. So, let's get back to work.
Ifan begins counting on his fingers and muttering to himself. This goes on for quite some time.
43, give or take. I don't work for the money. It's good for a man to have a trade. At least for me. The Lone Wolves gave me a purpose when I needed just that. Sometimes the contracts keep me going when I'm not sure what else could. Not much, I'll tell you that. Why? What do you think of them? Huh. Sharp eyes, lad. But they can't keep the likes of us locked up too long, I'll wager. Come on, let's poke around and see if we can sniff out some blind spots in their surveillance.
A moment's pause. I had thought us too wicked for rest. You don't say. I too had the pleasure. Of course, when I say pleasure, I mean the distinct dishonor. Like death and desperation. I'd rather not talk about it. You're very kind. But I suppose you deserve to know. Indeed. And so I'll acquiesce. Just this once. The thing is, Tyrsendilius, the Old Father, the Golden Leaf, he wants me to become the next Divine.
her eyes fixed on some unseen thing of darkness.
Beware of gods bearing gifts. Divinity. And yet, he treated me... treated me like a slave. His was an exercise in power, brutal, like all true power is. His was a lesson, meant to discipline, not to edify. Why would I obey